What's going on, y'all? Welcome back. Breaking Barriers Podcast, Season 6, Episode 4. I am one of your co-hosts, Daniel Robertson, Boys and Men of Color director. I'm also joined with...
I'm Josiah Ramirez. I'm a member of Breaking Barriers. And then today on the podcast, we have...
My name is Davide Paonessa Jr. I am a Buffalo public school teacher as well as a DJ and also a father.
My guy, David Paonessa. Love that you are here with us on the podcast today. I feel like this has been way too long, but you're here now, and I'm excited we get a chance to chop it up with you today, bro.
It's an honor to be here, so I appreciate the opportunity and the platform, and thanks for having me on. It's a great space you have here.
Yeah. Shout out to Donovan and Jamie, and they're not with us today, but they're busy doing some other things, so we're going to hold it down today, me and Josiah. So, Dave, you led with Buffalo Public School teacher. What in the world made you decide to get into teaching, bro?
So I would say what led me to get into teaching was me, myself, being a special education student myself. I went to Lewis and Porter, which is about 5-10 minutes away from Niagara Falls. And I started, and, as early as kindergarten, teachers thought, that I had some, disabilities with learning. So parents were super supportive in making sure and seeing what other things that we could try. And I received a bunch of different services from OT to PT, had some great teachers there. And then my sister continued. She was 3 or 4 years ahead of me, and she decided to enter the teaching field. And I actually also took a job with the Boys and Girls Club of Niagara Falls. Shouts to Miss Diane. She's one of the leaders of the Boys and Girls Club, was retired now. And I really loved it from those youth programs.
So you've been working with young people for a long time? For
a very long time, yeah, absolutely. And I always say, like, I wouldn't have chose a different career.
So what made you really want to get into this space, though?
As far as teaching or just
working with young people? Because some people, you kind of know my path of how I kind of fell into it. I didn't go the teacher route. I feel like I'm an educator like you, though. I'm just doing a different format.
Yeah, so I felt that I definitely had some different things to offer young adults in the classroom. Because I feel like oftentimes the classroom is kind of more really hammering those academics and really focusing on those state exams that teachers are also held accountable for the students passing. But, not to say that I don't highly value those different standardized testing, but I always stress relationships over academics, and being able to develop those relationships with my students and my young adults, I can kind of get them to where they need to be at with the curriculum. And just, being able to infuse different flavor that I have to the curriculum and not serve it to them how it's kind of always served to them in kind of a unseasoned way.
Bland, a little bland. Need some seasoning on the chicken?
Yeah.
Okay.
So within your job, what would you say is the most rewarding part of it for you?
That's a great question. I would say what's most rewarding is just, hearing from my young adults. I had an administrator, a good friend of mine, Dave Potter. He once said, it's hard in this space to find out our impact on young adults, because if we don't hear back from them, then how do you really know the impact that you've had? I've been very fortunate through being in the community through either DJing or just being in the community in various other ways with, helping out Daniel, doing some mentoring programs and just, living in the community, getting to see former young adults, even current young adults, and them really expressing the gratitude that they have for me. So that's an ultimate, that they still remember me. And I always thank my students, thank you for allowing me into your life. And then thank you for keeping me into it. I've even had some great experiences where I've actually DJed weddings for students that I've taught in middle school. And now they're adults themselves. And I have a student who's flying me out to Kansas City in October, who I used to teach, and I've known him since he was in elementary school, to DJ his wedding. So, and I want to also talk to the point, right about now, during this point in the school year, I teach 10th grade special ed. And, right now around prom and graduation, you're really seeing the fruits of your labor come to fruition.
They're itching to get out.
Well, not only that they're itching to get out, but I had them in 10th grade, and they come and see me often, but just watching them and the growth that they've had, especially in high school, and watching them cross that graduation stage, and then just them even having, when they come, what's really rewarding too is when they come to you and they and they start talking to you, Mr. P, like in 10th grade, I wasn't really all there, you know, I had some struggles and I didn't really, but you know, like, and they've really done some self-reflecting, and that to me, and I remember you said this, and that's always such a really good, rewarding feeling. So, but like I said, right around now is like a great time of feeling that rewards. So,
Yo, so P, you talked about relationships, right? And you and I, we've talked extensively about the importance of building relationships with young people, especially in a school setting. And I'll go on record often and say that it's one of the most important things that a teacher should do in the beginning of the school year, just to make sure that, you know, your school year goes as smooth as possible. Like when you take that extra time to really get to know students in your classroom and some of the things that they may go through at home, it makes your life a little bit easier. So can you talk about, one, why that's so important to you, and what makes you so darn good at it, man? Because I've seen it firsthand, and I've also heard you speak about it. So,
I mean, I appreciate the compliment on saying that I'm so darn good at it. You know, if you ask me, I still have some improvement to do, but I really appreciate that compliment, especially coming from somebody, you know, who makes a really big, profound, lasting impact in the community. Hey, if you're going to give out kind words, you got to be able to accept them. You know what? I would say some of the previous people that I've worked with in the past have shown me just even tone and voice in the classroom. A girl that I worked with, Carlene Chrissa, she was in Niagara Falls School District when I first started off. She was one of my, when I was student teaching, just talking about my tone of voice with the students, and really honing in on that. And from there, just finding different ways to build those relationships. And I think, to your point, I don't want to use the word it makes it easier, but it makes them more authentic rather. And those authentic relationships really come to fruition when you see them in the community and they're so excited to see you. Like they're just lit up. Oh, Mr. Paonessa, like, you know, they don't know that you have a life outside of school. They think you eat there, you sleep there, and you hang out there on the weekends. So when they see you out, they're just so happy. And I always say it's an extreme compliment when the parents who I haven't had the opportunity, like especially early in the year, they already know about me. And I'm like, wow, like, you know, they're going, oh yeah, we know all about you, Mr. P, or, you know, they've heard a story about me. But, you know, just, I always say that I always challenge myself to learn 3 to 4 things outside of academics about each student within the first 4 or 5 weeks. From there, you can kind of tailor your instruction to that. And, you know, my lesson that I teach to one group of young adults might be completely different, or it should be completely different, just because of certain things that I know about certain students and certain things that they enjoy, and their certain things that they have going on personally. And those relationships eventually help you actually have those different conversations with students and prevent future problems within the building. And whether it's, hey, Mr. P, let me put you on, this might happen next. And you can kind of keep the whole school in check that way.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask you a question, because you're a student and you've been a student in our district for quite a while now. You're getting ready to graduate. What does it do for you when you have teachers actually take the time to build a relationship with you?
Really, aside from kind of making my life easier at school, I've noticed that when I have teachers who really try and build a relationship with those students, I tend to do a lot better in those classes. Because then I'm looking at this teacher. It's not like, oh, this teacher. It's like this teacher who's also a mother or father, who's also like an entire human being. And like they're taking the time out of their day to teach me every day. Then it also kind of makes it more welcoming to go to that class. Because then you're going there and you're like, you know the teacher, you know the person. It makes you more willing to ask questions in class. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's the first thing I say when I see a student in the building is, thanks for coming today. They're always like, well, what do you mean? I didn't have a choice. I said, we did. You took a bus to get here, or you took some find different ways of training, whichever. And I say, you had a decision. You could have completely either skipped class. It's at the point where I have students who don't come in the morning that are like, we have a focus class at my school. It's like a college readiness class, and it's on a rotation. And now the students that have me, I'm like, I came early just for you. Like I wouldn't come, you know, I don't necessarily come early for the other teachers. They would purposely not, they would come like later in the day. And they're like, you know, cause you're always so happy to see me. Why are you so happy to see me? I said, because I'm here for you. Like, as much as I help you out, you know, you guys help me out with my day-to-day life. And, you know, I think to your point about being welcoming, I think that if you open that door to having a welcoming classroom, I think that you're going to get a lot more participation from your students, which in turn, you know, those relationships turn into better academic results. You know, and then just being able to have those real life conversations with your young adults about things that that I can't teach them in the textbook, that aren't in the textbook, like just different things about being a parent or interacting in different relationships with different people. Or, hey, Mr. P, I see you're DJing everywhere. How'd you do that? Well, you know, building relationships and things of that nature. So,
Yo, it's funny. So you mentioned being authentic, right? And I'm thinking about kind of like these 3 R's, and I'm thinking about in regards to you. I would say in regards to how you approach teaching and how you are with students, that you're real, you're relatable, and reliable, right? And think I can speak to all 3 of those, right? Because of the nature of our relationship. But I'm saying that now because I think part of who you are and the fact that you're so in tune with music, because you do have a DJ background, and you know we're both sneakerheads. You definitely are surpassed me in that category. But it's things that the students that you teach, the demographic of students that you teach, are really into. So how can you kind of use that and show other teachers that, you know, these are things that are in my toolkit, but they make up me. It's not just a thing. It's not a fad. Like, this is really me. And it helps me in how students respond to me and how I connect.
yeah, I mean, and it's so funny because I told the students last week on Wednesday, because they had a half a day, but Thursday, they had a full day off. And I said, geez, I got to come to work with all the adults today. And they said, well, what's up with that? I said, I'm not here for them. I said, they don't understand me. I said, you young adults, you guys understand me. And they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. And so I think to your point is some teachers, and like I said, I'm not saying that I'm the only teacher that does these things in this school district. I've met some amazing people and learned some amazing things from other educators, administrators about different ways to interact, and from you yourself too. But you know, I think really just, I know that every teacher can't talk about sneakers and music with their students, but if they can just be consistent and they can just be, like you said, real, and like they might not have to, like, I mean, you might have to do a little bit of homework on your students and be a little bit like there's got to be something in common that you have with your young adults. And you know, I always say my students are the most resilient humans that I've ever met. I think the students in the Buffalo Public Schools are the most resilient humans that I've ever encountered. And I really admire them. And like I said, I appreciate them coming to school every day because they have a lot going on. And the fact that they get up in the middle of the cold and they still come and they take the metro or the train to get here, it means a lot. But, you know, I think to your point about telling other teachers different things, you know, I always tell the other teachers, like, don't talk at them. You know what I mean? And you know, you're babying them. I said, no, you know, you want the students to do the same things. You have the same expectations for our young adults. So why are you not doing the same things that you expect from their students? And when you have these relationships, you can pull that student, say, hey, what's going on? Like, what's up? Before that behavior blows up in the middle of class, and then it becomes a power struggle. And we all know how that's going to end. And the student might disconnect from that teacher. And, you know, obviously the academics are going to go down and things of that nature. So did I answer that question?
No, that was, yeah.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
I would just, and next time, I would just say, don't have to necessarily have to talk about sneakers and music as a teacher, but take those surveys in the beginning of the year, do those short writing prompts and figure out your background on your students. And from there, there's got to be something that you could pull out that you could just
common point of kind of
common ground that you can infuse in and like I'll do it, like I have the students do a PowerPoint like the first beginning of the year that's like 10 different things, and one of them is like their name, certain foods, who they look up to, hobbies, just basic stuff. Then like
that's a cheat code.
Yeah. one of the slides says, which would you pick, loyalty or respect, and why, or both, or why? And I might not talk about it in that moment. I might bring it up like 3 weeks later. Oh, so Daniel, I see you picked respect. What we got going on? Like, why did I see you talking to that female? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just, and they're like, oh, ooh. Like, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, or like, you know, those sort of things.
I got you.
And you kind of keep them in your pocket,
In your back pocket.
in your back pocket. And it's not like I'm throwing it in their face, but it's more like a just to keep them honest. And I had a student hold me accountable. Her name was Paris, and you know, I get in touch with parents, and Paris one day she was like, Vanessa, that's it. I think I forgot. It was might have been her birthday, and I forgot to pick up something that she asked. She was like, I wanted a candy bar, and I was gonna bring it in. And she's like, Vanessa, that's it. I'm calling your mom. I said, you know what? You're right. I gave her the school phone, had her dial my mom's number. She called my mom. Hi, is this Mrs. Panessa? I said, yeah, it's Mrs. She said, Mr. Panessa forgot my candy bar for my birthday, and I want to hold him accountable. And I said, and my mom said, oh, wow. So, you know, like, just like I expected my students to be accountable, you know, I need to be accountable too. So,
gotcha.
I do want to say, to your point about maybe not exactly everybody's able to talk to the kids, like about the sneakers and the music and all that. But how you're right, they could at least be interested, you know, because a lot of teachers, they'll be kind of like off in their own world, you know what I'm saying? Kind of in a sense, they'll be there, however, they don't really interact with the students at all. So I think that's really what makes a great teacher, which I think that's one of the many things that I've heard from you that you're doing right. So
Thank you.
I want to give you that applause. And then
Thanks.
you talked about the PowerPoints. Those stuff like that does matter too to students, because I have one teacher. He's my chemistry teacher, Mr. McCallum. I had him sophomore year and this year. He every year he does a little paper thing. It's the same questions you would ask, but on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't. He was the first class I ever had there because it was coming fresh off of COVID, first class in school.
Yep.
And I was like, I never knew teachers actually read those until he comes up to me the day after we do that assignment. He's like, that artist you wrote down, I listened to him. He's a really good artist. I was like, oh, you actually like paid attention to that. So that stuff, students do appreciate stuff like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's great. I love that. Thanks for sharing that.
Oh yeah, no problem.
That's good.
I love that too. You guys both made me reflect on a recent incident that went viral on social media last week, or was it the week before, with the teacher at one of the schools, last 10 minutes of class. Female students were unbraiding his hair because he had to go and get it rebraided or something for something he had coming up. And he wound up losing his job behind this incident because it was on social media at the time, and he got a lot of backlash behind it. What are your thoughts on that situation? You guys know I know you know what I'm talking about because we talked about it during the Zoom call. So thoughts, reactions?
I would say that they're definitely, I mean, with social media and even as a male teacher, you know, you definitely have to be careful. Do I think that he should have lost his position? I don't think so. And I think that's a reflection of the amount of support that he's getting with the removal of his position, with people writing petitions for his job to be reinstated. I think I saw this. Is that right? That the students want him to come back. Yeah. You know, so to that point, I would say here we have an effective teacher. And, you know, so maybe should there be a conversation about maybe that's because maybe that, hey, have the conversation, you know, that's not something that's not appropriate for the classroom, keeping in mind that there's videos. And, you know, I would hope that maybe those parents that have had hopefully they had a positive interaction with that teacher, which I assume they did, and they would speak to his behalf of, you know, it wasn't like, because I'm going to imagine that it was mostly the school district kind of trying to cover their backside and saying, well, we better, it's, you know, it's viral, as you said, we got to do something. So I would hope that they really go back and investigate that and really put all the pieces together, because if he's an effective teacher, we see teachers or people in other positions keep their jobs over a lot more serious things.
Yeah.
And our youth are really our most important, you know, our most important people who are going to be growing up to eventually take care of us. So, you know, I always treat the youth as such, like we have to take care of the youth. And we have to make sure that we're giving them the different tools to succeed as they get older. So as they get older, to be able to handle those different challenges. So, and trust me, as a male teacher, sometimes I've had to definitely do some reflecting about, just in general, keeping the door open,
Boundaries.
Boundaries.
For sure.
And just kind of realize, even it's a compliment that some of the students will call me dad, and the females will want to, hey, Mr. P, and just trying, like you said, just trying to keep those boundaries and just realizing that, and just realizing that sometimes you can't be everything to everybody. And although you might be the most favorite teacher or the students really like you, you still have to remember that somebody's always recording.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in this day and age.
And it is, and it can get easily taken out of context. It can easily get taken out of context. So, like I said, even as I've had close friends of mine be like, hey, teachers, hey, like you might want to be a little bit more careful with doing this or doing that, and it was out of genuine, care of, hey, we know you love this profession, and you just want to maybe those boundaries that you kind of talked about, so
Gotcha.
So yeah.
All right, man. So let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
You rocking the Biggie shirt today. I know that's one of your favorite artists, right?
Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, R.I.P.
Right, Big. How'd you get into DJing, man?
So, I've always been into music. My parents, from, when they would clean the house, even, just going to church, and just, music being the center of a lot of our activities at home. And I told the story on the Eat, Sip, oh, wow. Sorry, I'm losing my mind for a second. Eat, Sip, and Chat podcast. Sorry about that. About how that really happened. My Uncle Vic worked at the New York State Power Authority. I needed my windows tinted. He had an electrician at the New York State Power Authority. His name is Mike Warren. Shouts to Mike Warren. I love and I appreciate you and everything you did for me, continue to do for me. And he tinted my windows, and he had all of his equipment set up when I was going to pay him. I said, "Oh, wow, what's this?" He said, "I'm also a DJ." I said, "Wow, you DJ too?" He said, "Yeah." He said, it was right around now. It was around Memorial Day weekend. He said, "Listen, I got an event I got a wedding pretty much every weekend all summer." And as I said on the other podcast, it's going to sound like I'm dating myself, but he's like, "I'll pay you $10 an hour just to come hang out." And as I said, he spent a lot of time with me, not just talking to me about music, but just relationships with the bride and the groom, because we were doing a lot of weddings. Mentorship, yeah. And he really, really took me under his wings. And I mean, when I tell you, like, just showing me, even like, I have a lot better understanding of technology because of him. He was super savvy with technology. And even more than all of those things, if I needed something, he was there. I mean, when I bought my first house, I needed to have an electrical line ran to my garage. He came, he dug 6 feet all by himself. I mean, just out of the goodness of his heart, needed somebody to talk to, was there. And then, and then along the lines, I met one of my best friends, our brother. Shouts to Gary Hall, G Money, also the godfather of my son as well. And Gary taught me some other things that a part of the business, as well as, and both really kept humbleness and being genuine and thankful all the time. And not that wasn't in my repertoire anyways, but just kind of speaking to the point how as a DJ, you do these venues and you can, your confidence gets to be at a certain point, and just always remember to take the time to thank those people who take their time to come see you. Because, especially at our age, we have kids and people have to coordinate sitters, and sometimes they come out in the middle of the freezing cold just to see you. And, when people show up for you, it's really it's a testament of your character. And I'm so appreciative of the support that the city, I just told my dad and I were in New York City. I said, we're looking at a DJ who was DJing before the Yankees game. He said, "Wow, what a platform." I said, "Yeah." I said, "What a great one." I said, and Buffalo has really treated me very well too. I said, so I can't complain. So
it's cool.
But yeah, and I love music. So, just try to incorporate it in the classroom as often as I can.
So how would you say that through your time DJing, the um I don't know how you would refer to it, how DJing has changed over time?
Over time, how has it changed?
Oh, that's a great question. I like that.
That's a great question. It's definitely evolved. And, and I mean, this is my 19th or 20th year. So I guess I'm almost at that quote unquote, I don't want to call myself an OG, but because you have people who were, like our friend Gary, our brother Gary, who was even 10 years, DJing 10 years longer than me and starting on vinyl. So it's evolved, and I believe it's evolved in a great way. And it's definitely changed technologically, I would say, for the better. I think if nothing else, it allows people a lot more opportunity to try it out, because DJing on vinyl, learning on vinyl is hard, but it also really helps you get to know the music. And I would say, I think that it's evolved in the sense that it's given people more access to do it. It's definitely created a lot more platforms for people, especially with being able to go live on social media with it. Yeah, I mean, and I think I would say like it's pretty much evolved for the better. And I think the DJs that might get a little bit, that might say that it's maybe hasn't evolved for the better, I think your talent and your skill most of the times will always come to the light. And if you are, a good DJ, a good person, and you bring in if you're DJing at different venues, I think that'll always kind of keep jobs and different gigs coming your way, as long as you keep that your talent. Like you said, you know what I mean. You got to keep doing your homework. You know what I mean? I DJ a lot of. I just DJ'd Riverside's prom last week. I work at Middle Early College. Our prom's this Thursday. Trust me, keeping up with those TikTok songs and keeping up with, and I remember before I had access to some of these websites, I would have to actually I would be in my classroom on my lunch and my prep before a Hutch Tech dance, making clean versions of songs that I know they wanted to hear, but at the time I just didn't have access to them because it was either like that rare of a, it was just kind of like a not as a common of a song, or I just didn't have access to the clean version at the time. And, fortunately through some relationships and, through different, the years of DJing, I've been able to have some access to some websites to get access to these, the cleaner versions of them. But, so yeah.
So educator, DJ, I know your family is extremely important to you, and you are a father.
Yeah.
How in the world do you balance all of these things?
I have a really great team, and that includes you, part of that team. And I almost say it with a tear in my eye, but I have a really great team. I definitely couldn't do or manage all of those things without the team that I have. My parents and my sister have been just a complete rock, and as I don't want to neglect as well. I'd be remiss if I didn't say my aunts, my uncles, my cousins that have helped me out. We do Sunday dinner every Sunday at the house. My mom makes something. It's not, I know I'm Italian, it's not always pasta. It's Daniel's been, so he can attest to that. But my team, without my team, I wouldn't be able to manage it all. And I will say, and I mentioned this in the podcast, like, my parents definitely had a firm talk to me about when I first had my son. Like, we understand that you have opportunities to DJ pretty often, but you need to understand that when you have your son, you have your son. You only get I'm a co-parent, and you only get so much time with your son, and he's only young for so long. And it's really important that you take those opportunities. And, we have no problem, every now and again, if you have an event that, because of people booking out their weddings a couple years in advance, that you didn't know the weekend you were going to have him, we're okay with helping out every once in a while. But they really, my parents said, hey, you were fortunate enough to have both of your parents in your life. We love your son. He's our grandson. We love him to death. But, and the one thing that really struck to me was my dad said, if there's a business that doesn't understand, or somebody that you DJ for that says the weekend that you have your son, that, they're going to give you a hard time, then that's not somebody that you want to work for. And every business or anybody that I've talked to, hey, I got my son that weekend. I'm gonna pass it on to Marlasia, who's a girl. She's pretty much become a daughter to me, who gets a lot of my overflow, and usually, and I kind of give those out to other people. So, to your point, a team, man. And without the team that I have, like I said, my sister, my mom, my cousins, my aunts, uncles, and your brother, and that support system, I couldn't do it.
Appreciate you, bro.
Likewise.
What do you love about being a dad, man? Especially, Father's Day is about a month away,
I love watching my son grow. He's 6 now. He just celebrated his 6th birthday. I love my friends embracing my son and just seeing the way that my son interacts with them. I love the feeling when I first see my son after I have it, when we have a transition between my son's mom and I. I love that daddy like that, or, we FaceTime. I got him an iPad for Christmas, and I love him on a Monday getting ready, it's a dad's weekend, and just that excitement. I love to see his, he recently started playing hockey and getting him on the ice. I love watching him go on the ice. I love hearing from his teacher, daily, how his daily report went. So I would say what I love most about being a dad is just being able to experience all the different emotions that my son feels, and having and now that he's 6, having those different conversations. You can have a little bit more, what's the word? Developed conversations, I guess you might say.
Yeah, I know where you're going with it.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I like being able to ride in the car with him and asking him for a song that he wants to hear, and just that time that we have. And, to my parents' point, I last year was the first year in 18 years I didn't work summer school, because of the switch in schedule with my son, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I wouldn't have traded it, and I'm doing the same this year with the schedule. My son's mom is generous enough to give during the summertime to give me the front half of the week, because she knows that I DJ on the weekends. And it's just more accommodated to the schedule. So, I appreciate her for that, because it's definitely more conducive to giving us time. My son and I giving us that really authentic time together, and it's just phenomenal. So
I commend you, man. I can hear the passion. I can see in your eyes, man, the way you light it when you talk about little crash bash.
Yeah.
So big ups to you, man.
Thanks, man.
We're getting close to time, so I'm going to kick it over to Josiah, see if Josiah had anything else burning over there he wanted to ask P. No? You good?
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you this though, because Josiah is an up and coming entrepreneur, right? He has a clothing line.
Okay.
What advice would you give to him as he continues on this path of growing out his business and on to college? What advice would you give him?
Slow and steady. And the reason why I say that is, I have upcoming, I have DJs that I've had the opportunity and been honored enough to mentor, and slow and steady. Don't be in such a rush to get your product out there. I'm not saying don't promote yourself, but I always say that I've been fortunate enough where any space that I've ever DJed before, I've been asked to. I'm a big proponent of not stepping on people's J's. When I say that, in other words, for saying stepping on their feet. If Daniel worked at the casino as a DJ, I'm not saying that I'm not sending emails to the casino. Hey, how do I get in? I might have a conversation with Daniel because I know him. Like, hey, how did you get in? Like, is there, if they ever ask, if you ever need somebody covered, could you mention my name? Or if they're ever looking for other DJs. And it's funny because I'm going to tell you this right now. It was a humbling experience. The casino had a DJ competition. Daniel was there. Daniel always shows up for me. So, always, and super appreciative of that. And I lost. And a week or two went by, and they reached out to me and they said, we know that you quote unquote lost, but we really like the way that you manage the crowd. We really like the way that you they said that you were, the way you interacted with all of the different staff here. And, we just think you're a really nice guy. I'll never forget, it was November. They said to me, what's your schedule from January, this up and coming year, till the following December? I said, wait, you want to book me for a whole year? They said, yeah. And they've done that for the last 8 years. And what's happened is it's led to me DJing the Bills tailgates at the casino. They've sent me out to the Allegheny Casino. I've DJed a undercard of the UFC live fight there. And then it's led to other people. So people will talk about you. So that's why I'm not saying like, don't put your product out there, but trust me, if what you're putting out is quality, people always find out about it. Don't be in such a rush to put, I'm not saying don't be, I don't want to use the word assertive, but I don't want to say like, don't be a supporter of yourself, but just don't be in such a huge rush. It'll all come together. I mean, I think it was like at least 10 years before like I was even DJing like in like a club scene and it worked out better because if I'm honest with you, it took me talk about the evolution of DJing, you know, it went from being CDs. I started on CDs. Then it went to a variation of a digital one where it was like on an iPod and it's just, so it took me figuring that out anyways. So, and it's so funny. Like I still get calls. Hey, we heard about you. Like all the local businesses, they all talk about, hey, Dave, you know, he's a good DJ. And you know, and all of a sudden you start, I mean, an example, Mr. Goodbye reached out to me. Hey, you know, we heard about you. Can you DJ for us all summer? Oh, wow, really? Yeah, like, you know, a business was talking about you. So, you know, don't be in a rush. But once you do have all your ducks in a line, you know, then you can kind of maybe take that more, you know, you can take that more, I don't want to use the word aggressive either, but that more, a little bit of a push. But as I said, if you're good at what you do, it'll always speak volumes and people will speak on your behalf for you. And you'll start to find, like, wow, it just all happens. So, and if you just literally put the work in, I mean, I was DJing and I still am. I mean, DJing weddings, DJing, you know, mentoring events, and you just keep getting your name out there. And like I said, I wasn't in everybody's inbox. Hey, book me, but I was taking events. And if I'm being honest, I mean, I don't know, last summer, somebody flew me to Paris, France to do a wedding. Big shouts to Karima and Hyro. Appreciate you. Love you guys.
P in Paris.
Yeah, Paris P. So I was super blessed for that opportunity. And that came from me DJing I was DJing at Hartman's. And then Karima was somebody who shopped at Miss Eye Candy. So shouts to Siobhan. She linked us, and my barber, shouts to Nick Sapola. He cut the fiance, who's now her husband, Hyro's hair, and he was like, Hyro was like, yeah, I was at this spot, and there was this bald guy DJing with a beer. He's like, oh, it's got to be P. And so yeah. So my point is, did that make so? Yeah, don't be like, at least don't be in a rush. So I'm sorry I went the long way about that, but
I'm gonna help you out, P. Here we go. Slow and steady wins the race. Mm-hmm. Be a good dude. Put out quality product, and just treat everybody the way that you want to be treated.
There it is, the cliff notes. If you don't want to skip to the last 45 seconds. I didn't mean to go on that long discourse, but you know, when you're passionate about what you do, and you know, when you have somebody that'll listen, and that's something, you know, those are conversations that I have with my students all the time, just about not being in a rush and just, you know, making sure you like Dee said, you know, slow and steady, be a good person, yeah, got it, and genuine. Just always be genuine too,
and humble,
yeah,
got it, yeah. Solid. And
appreciative. Always be appreciative of people that, especially so people that are gonna, if people wear your line, like, you know, and I earlier on in my career, I did some fundraising events for people, you know, for a couple different reasons. One, because it was a nice thing to do and generous for me to donate my time. But not only that, but then, you know, when you give back, it feels really good. And then, you know, those people will support you. And so if you have to give out a couple different pieces to somebody to wear to get your product out there, they'll speak on it. And then, you know, so it might, up front, it might cost you a little bit, but the dividends pay out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Got it.
So I wish you a lot of luck with that, man. You know, I don't think there can ever be enough. You know, the creativity lane is yours. You know, make it yours. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no, I wish you lots of luck.
No doubt. P, I appreciate you, man. It was great having you here today. We got to do this again.
Oh, I would love to. Thanks really for the opportunity.
Go a little bit deeper and unpack some stuff. Josiah, you know, it's always good seeing you, bro. Super proud of you. So happy for the journey and the path that you on, man. You got a great support system around you. Just keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you.
And you're gonna be graduating, so congratulations, and keep those people who have always gone to bat for you or supported you, keep those people in your life, because those are always people that you can come talk to when you have something that comes up. And I always say, like, a lot of times you can't, especially being a co-parent, to not react in the moment, to step back, go to that team of people, have that conversation, and then you can kind of approach it. Because a lot of times when you make those decisions in the moment, they're usually out of emotion and they usually don't end well. And I always say, like, conversations are the birthplace of change. So keep your strong support system. They're truly the key to the future for you. So
Got it.
Yeah, I heard it from P. Breaking Barriers Podcast, Season 6, Episode 4. It's a wrap. We out of here. Thank you to all of our supporters. Continue to watch us. Check us out. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all of our social media platforms. Josiah Ramirez, David Paonessa, Daniel Robertson. We'll see y'all soon.
thank you
Peace.
so much.